Welcome to Nickel City Chronicles, Young American Dialogue. I'm here with a special guest today, Dominique Calhoun. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yep,
Okay.
Calhoun.
And my partner, Robby Miles Jones, is here. And today we're just going to get into some political stuff, some world stuff, some real stuff. Dominique, you're running for...
Erie County Legislature, District 1.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Everybody check her out, and got the links in the description, so everybody click on those, and you know what I'm saying. And I guess we'll start it off. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your backstory, why you're running, and where, give your message,
Well, I'm just an everyday citizen here in Buffalo, New York. I'm a mother, small business owner.
That's what's up.
Graduated from Buff State. I went to ECC as well. I had gotten a dual degree where I had a paralegal degree from ECC and I obtained a bachelor's at Buff State. So I'm your all-around Buffalo native.
Nice.
Buffalo.
That hoodie is amazing.
Yeah.
It looks just like the Nickel City logo a little bit, the blue buffalo.
Well,
that is perfect. We got to get some of those.
Yeah, well, I have a girl, so I'll hook you
All right,
guys
yeah,
up.
definitely,
Yes.
definitely hook us up. Definitely.
We'll give you free advertising.
Yeah. All right. We could put her link in the comments.
Yeah, throw that link in the. All right, I got you. So tell us about like what got you into wanting to be into politics and like legislation. I mean, that's law and city planning, stuff like that.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what got you down that path, because that's pretty.
Well, it's
big.
funny because if someone would have told me I was running for office this time last year, I would have definitely told them that that's a joke,
Right.
But my passion has always been in law. And I did apply for a law school. I did get accepted.
Nice.
But I decided that I wasn't gonna go because that was about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
At the time, I had just had a baby, so
Wow.
my
life throws things at you.
It does.
Yeah.
But the way that your path and your destiny is set up, I've always been a researcher, being a paralegal, and law just has been near and dear to my heart. And not only that, I've been like in the community and I have a nonprofit. So the accounting part of it, the grant writing part of it, that's also something that I have learned down through, all of these years of just dealing with the community and being in the community. And when I seen the qualifications or what a legislator is supposed to be doing here in the city, I said, well, I think I would be the perfect change that we want to see in this administration. Someone that is here to write legislation, and a legislation not only that will help us, in our everyday lives, but help us as a people, like in the state of New York.
Yeah. It's what it comes down. It's all about the community and like helping the people that like we live with, like not just become like I think the biggest problem right now in government is we've got a lot of puppets right now.
Yes.
We got a lot of people that are paid for and bought by some outside entity that doesn't care about us as people.
Should I say it? Should I say it?
What you gotta say?
You already know what I always say about politicians.
What's that?
Ain't no difference from them and a woman down the street selling her body. Y'all all hoes and hoes. Feel me?
Dude, there's some truth to that, man. Like it is what I mean. That's the problem. Like people are hungry for a politician that actually comes from the heart.
For the people.
And is doing it for the right reasons and wants to give back. And that's what I sense from you when I look at you and I follow you on social media. I get the feeling that you actually care. What for you are big in the jail reform thing, right?
Yes. I'm just big in reform, just period. When
Period,
it comes
reform.
to education,
Right.
When it comes to jail reform, police reform with policies, just anything that there's an equitable divide when it comes to just the mass incarceration of people, and race has a lot to do with it,
right,
but
right.
so does class.
Yeah.
It's just it's a big problem all the way around, and that's really what made me want to run for office, because when I was beating the pavement and trying to work with certain city officials, you see the red tape and you see how people don't want to speak up about certain things. You feel like, hey, why aren't you speaking up and speaking out?
Right.
These are your people. These are our people. This is our community. So I just feel like it's time for a change because we need people in place that will pass legislation and support a community that
Right.
needs help, because if we don't, then we're still going to be going down the same road where Quentin Settle still doesn't have justice.
Right.
Those officers were never suspended, fired, punished in any way, but he has to live his life with his eye, which he may not ever be able to see out of correctly. So we need people that will speak up about atrocities like that and not be afraid.
And you know what's crazy is, like, I've seen it firsthand in the county jail where you see these correctional officers. They kind of have their group of people that got each other's back, and they do whatever they want, and it's their word versus the inmate's word. What is the inmate? Who's the inmate? You can't trust an inmate. They're in jail because they did, you know what I'm saying? So you got this whole culture in the prison, not even just in Erie County, just in prison system in general. The whole culture of these COs where they can just go and beat somebody up, beat somebody half to death, and say, "Oh, he was swinging and punching me. He did it first." You know what I'm saying? And then, oh, all right,
we were incarcerated together. How many times did you hear the deputy or one of the COs remind the other CO or deputy there's a camera present?
Yeah. Okay, so let me give you a real life story real quick. This really happened, all right? So there's one camera on the unit, and it was at the door. So there's no camera in the actual unit where the people, like, where the beds are and you know what I'm saying, the racks or whatever. It's just on the door. So the trays come in for lunch, and one of the inmates was having a bad day. Whatever happened to him, who knows? He was having a bad day. He was talking loud. He was acting kind of erratic or whatever. So the CEO was like, "Shut the f up," you know what I mean? And then he said something back to the CO, and the CO grabs him, puts him in front of him, and then he takes one of the trays and he throws it across the room in front of the camera where the door is. So all the camera sees is a tray flying across the room, and he goes, "You know what that was? That was you that just threw that."
Wrote it up.
And that's what he said. He basically was like, if you want to go down this path, it's my word against yours. All they see is a tray flew across the screen. I'll say you threw it, and I can beat your ass to death, and you're not going to do anything about it.
And as inmates, we don't have a voice. We can't really speak up
Right.
on that.
And see, that's what I'm working against, right? So right now I'm working hand in hand with the jail advisory board, so that we can get some of these complaints from the inmates, so we'll know what's going on firsthand within the jails, because you have a lot of these inmates that were writing complaints that are never getting outside of the jails because the officers are reading them and throwing them in the trash.
It's crazy.
So
yep, that's all they do.
Yeah, so you have this culture where the inmates are scared to speak out and say something. We just recently had an inmate, Cortez Foster, who he was in there trying to advocate for the COVID procedures were not being followed properly. They were throwing infected inmates in general population.
That's
when they
crazy.
were taking showers. They weren't wiping the phones down, and then they were putting them in solitary confinement but calling it quarantine. But then you're taking for 23 hours and 45 minutes.
Just so you guys know,
23 and 1.
if you want to know what that's like, just do this real quick. Go in your closet, turn off the light, close the door, and just sit there for 24 hours. See if you can make it for 20 minutes.
I'll be honest, like, as an adult,
that's what that's like.
this might catch some of y'all off guard when I say this. Like, that fucked me up.
Yeah,
I was 16 years old. I spent 9 months in 23 and 1. Sometimes being denied my hour, sometimes being denied a meal. You feel less than, and I'm not talking about less than a human being. You feel less than a breathing entity.
Yeah.
Am I not sitting here?
Yeah.
Like, to have that done to you, bro. And do you know what that did? Like, at such a young age, do you know what that did to my mental? I can't even sit in my house too long by myself.
Yeah. And you know what else is there's a lot of people getting beat half to death, beaten to a pulp, and then it gets tossed under the rug and they just settle out under, like, behind closed doors. So you don't see it in the papers.
But the only
that's
thing
happening
that benefited me, like, you remember I had a cousin that was an attorney.
Yeah.
So I'm getting attorney visits that's not taken out of my privilege visits, and it's a family member.
Yeah.
And because I had my cousin there, like Deputy Gilden, motherfucker, Deputy Gilden, he got what he deserved in the very end. It took me a while to get my justice.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was pulled out of my cell and beat. And it wasn't even I spit in the deputy face. I was a roughneck, bro.
Yeah, that's what happens. People go through hard shit and they end up there, and this mental health
Yeah.
issues that we were dealing with, like it's not. They just look at everyone as a number. Like they don't treat you like a person. Like, and like just last summer, Joey Bilchowski was beat up in his cell, and the next they left him there and didn't give any medical attention. The next day he was dead.
Yep.
In the jail. Like this happens all the time. The Erie County is one of the worst spots too.
And see, that's what we're working against, right? We're working to put in policies and laws in place that can't happen. So
Right.
if they need immediate medical treatment, if they need a mental evaluation, they should be in a hospital. They should not be just left to
Right.
deteriorate
Yeah.
in a jail.
And you think that's
And,
common sense?
well, Tim Howard, he said that the only people's fault that they are killing themselves is their own, and that they're dying is their own. So he said that they're not
It's crazy.
nurses and that they're not their jobs as deputies. But I feel like if you are being
What a crazy
paid-
thing to say, by the way.
right?
What a crazy thing to say.
It is. It's absolutely outrageous because they are there to supervise, essentially supervise these prisoners, and if within your supervision you're seeing that someone needs medical attention, then common sense would say, let me get this person some medical attention, not just leave them there to die. You know, on average, a person dies in the Erie County Holding Center once every 6 months for the past 30 years.
That's too much.
That's entirely too much for the past
Right.
how long?
In a fully staffed facility.
That's
Right.
crazy.
Well, an overstaffed facility.
Yeah,
Right,
it is. They
right.
they got lots of people working there.
Who's
Crazy.
requesting like overtime, you know.
And they'll have two people sitting at the desk, like half asleep, just sitting there, and there's two people there for one little room. Like they're overstaffed. You know what I'm saying?
But,
They're
like,
paying
even,
them.
even like more than that, like outside of the obvious maltreatment. Like I remember, I forget his first name, but we called him OG Koontz. Koontz was his last name. 60-something years old. He'd been in and out of jail most of his life, but he couldn't get the necessary medical treatment as a type 1 diabetic.
Wow.
I remember watching him
just
go
gonna
through
say-
sugar shock, bro.
I was just gonna say another issue outside of the COs and their whatever the stuff they're doing is the people go to jail with they're on medications that they need and they just take them off it.
Well,
It's
you
like
know,
it's like that. Like that's something we're allowed to do now, or
I
something.
just spoke to a person the other day, and that actually happened to them, and they're transgender, right? So they are on these hormones where if you take them from them, they get severely sick.
Yeah,
You know, so now you're in jail, and they take the hormones from them. Person lost about 40, 50 pounds, was severely sick, like on the verge of almost
that's
dying.
crazy.
You know,
That's
so it's like
just
you said,
absolutely-
diabetics, lupus, anything. You know, it's
Yeah.
just cruel and unusual punishment to not get the people the medicine that they need while they're incarcerated.
And I mean, it's like you got the prescription and the medication from a doctor, so that's your medication that you rightfully should take. A jail can't tell you no. Like that should never be a thing. So that's why I'm saying like that's common sense that someone like you should be in position to actually take care of stuff like that.
You ask me, like it starts before the prisons. The reason why all of these situations are able to skip through the cracks and nothing is really being done about them is to understand how society as a whole sees prisoners.
Right.
Prisoner is not innocent until proven guilty. The fact you're in jail,
That's a fact.
large,
It's a good point.
large portion of the United States already gave up on you.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what's just so horrible, right? So we have all these people who have been sitting in jail for about a year for a probation violation.
Wow.
Or people who were sitting in jail for a year because of COVID who hadn't even been proven guilty yet. They were still awaiting trial. So you have a lot of people who, you know, due to the process and how people view them just as thrown away in jails, just sitting there because essentially no one cares. And then what about the people who violated probation, right? What if their probation officer just doesn't like them? What is the process to say that this person is a racist? This
Malik
person has
Campbell.
a vendetta against me.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
there
That's
is no
true.
process. You can't complain because who's going to stop it?
Yeah.
Same thing like the COs when they tell you that they can beat you to death and they can do what they want because that's what kind of system we live in and what kind of atmosphere they are encouraging. And that's what we're trying to break down.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they look at the inmates as discredited already. So their word is nothing. We got, you know what I'm saying? And they protect their own first. So it's like, and it's crazy because, I mean, this is back. I'm going to go back in deep in history real quick just to remind people. They created dungeons. Those are their first jails, right? You had to be deemed undesirable from society to go there. That means you had to be completely, everybody didn't, you murdered people, you raped people, you're done. Like, now we use jail as like a money, it's like a market.
It's money grab.
Yeah, you throw people in jail for a little drug thing.
Right.
Hopefully they'll buy some commissary, and then you know what I'm saying, get the money flowing. You know what I mean? It's just it's wild.
I mean, it's sick that we're throwing people in jail for drug addictions, for
private jails,
prostitution, things that instead of implementing restorative justice, where we should be getting to the bottom of why they are addicted to drugs. Why are they writing bad checks to support their drug habits?
Right.
Instead of trying to use, the community as a fallback, we're using the jails as a fallback to make money off of these inmates. And
that's such a good point. Is like we forget these are people. These are humans. Like, this isn't like, they're not just criminals. Like, people get addicted to drugs because they don't like the way they feel. So we're outcasting people who want to change the way they feel. Like that, if you think about how primitive that is, if you like, it's nonsense. Like, that's something that needs to change quickly. Like,
definitely,
especially with little drug crimes, like people getting caught with weed or a bag of whatever.
I mean, it's like, how much money are we spending wasting court time, judge time, overtime for these officers for a dime bag of weed? Something that should be. You should
be able to grow it in your house if you want.
Right,
who cares? Like,
which is legal in other places.
Yeah.
So it's like we're wasting so much taxpayer money on little offenses when we should really be allocating these funds and pouring them into things like solving real crimes. Like, right, so the murder rate is solved at like less than 50% here in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, less than 50%, but these guys are getting paid hell of overtime to do what? Because you're not solving any crimes, right? You're not even in tune with the community where they feel safe enough to tell you what's going on around here. I always use Chicago PD as a example. My man Boyd, right? Boyd isn't arresting the low-level drug offender. He's arresting the person that's out here murdering kids. And guess who's helping him? The low-level drug offender, because he's disgusted that the person is out here murdering kids because that's his community. And Boyd sees that what is the point of me taking this guy down, as a low-level offender because he's not out here harming or hurting anyone. Right. That's a community police officer, someone who is really out here trying to solve real crimes and implement real justice, right. Not just, harm our community in any way they can.
Right. Yeah. That's what I want to see, like, change, and not just on a local level, just in general, is we need to stop, like, the whole war on drugs and the whole prison system. It needs reform, like heavy reform. Like, we need to stop looking at people like they're just criminals. Like, we need more rehabilitation.
If I may, because I'm like almost never able to bring this up, but when you talk about the war on drugs, I like people to understand, see my people for what they are. They're people. The color of their skin may be darker than yours. Their culture may be different from yours. And what they do may be different from what you do, the music they like. But at the end of the day, let's look at the crack epidemic and compare it to the opioid epidemic.
Right.
Yeah.
And you tell me that this is an equal country that we live in.
I want to hold that thought. That's a good point. We're going to hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back. Hold.
Thank you for coming today as I announce my run for Erie County Legislature District 1. Buffalo is in desperate need of change. I believe I can be a part of the change that we've been waiting for. Community, small business, mental health, and accountability are issues that are all important to me, as well as residents of the city of Buffalo. I think it's important that we pass and support legislation such as India's law, so that her name or her story will never be forgotten. We have to take precedent and understand the importance of shaping policy that protects our most vulnerable.
And welcome back to Nickel City Chronicles. And we were talking about some of the problems with the prison system and the, just the criminalization of things that are not even violent,
Don't try to avoid it now. We was talking about the difference between the opioid epidemic and the crack epidemic.
That's the last thing you said.
That was the last thing I said.
Continue.
All right, so my mother was a crackhead, and I watched basically crack cocaine ravish my neighborhood for years, and the institutionalized and or systemic racism that was attached to that was a serious undertone in our society. If you look at the statistics, how many African American males were jailed, how many parents were ripped from their homes, you start to understand when you see the opioid epidemic, when they start institutionalizing places or basically nursing facilities in which these people can get their drugs shot up by a nurse.
Yeah.
But you were jailing offenders when the skin tone of the addict was different.
Right.
It was a war when it was a black man. It was an epidemic when it was a white man.
That's a fact.
And that has always bothered me.
Well, that goes back to like how healthcare, right? It's the same thing. They treat patients and view them differently when it comes to the color of their skin. A friend of mine is working on a program right now where they're training nurses on how to not that they're not seeing racial bias, but not to include them in their diagnosis because people are dying behind it. Because they are assuming that they have the drug addicts or they have these problems as opposed to they need help. Someone will come and they need pain medicine and they won't prescribe them because they assume that everybody in a certain area are on drugs. So that program this goes to show people their own inner-seated biases that they may not think that they have, but it definitely exists.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because if you go back to the 90s when crack became was everywhere in all the cities, all the urban cities, and it was looked at as you get caught with crack and it's worse than cocaine, even though it's the same thing, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden you see mass incarceration as a result of it. Opiates got big in the mid 2000s to 2010s, and all of a sudden it starts affecting suburban neighborhoods. And all of a sudden it was like, hold up here, we got to stop what we're doing. We got to fix this. This is a problem because we got judges and politicians and whoever, governors, their kids are now getting in trouble with drugs. And that can't happen. So now we got to do something about it. So, yeah, that's a fact. There's definitely some bias with that. Now, the one thing I do want to mention, though, is that at least something did get sort of rolling the ball forward, even though it was way too late. And it's now we're seeing people like you and other people, Miles Carter, people like that, Talia Rodriguez, who are really pushing for decriminalization and reform in criminal justice. So it came a little late, but now at least we see it, we're seeing it happen now. It's a new thing.
But if I may, when it comes to these topics, you're like the angel and I'm always the devil on the other shoulder. But we're at a point in history now. We're at a point in our country now where it's too little too late. It's just like when we came to the table as an equal people, we didn't have a leg to stand on. So before you can even preach equality, why don't you break down what equality is? Because I don't think my people still to this day have seen it.
Right. I mean, we haven't seen equality. What they do is they shift what blatant racism is into systematic racism, right? They took segregation out of schools and told you that schools was equal, but then they don't fund the schools. So how equal are the schools?
Yeah.
Exactly what everyone else has, but you have to start 5 steps back.
Right. You have to.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you will have to jump this hurdle.
See, I spoke on the systemic racism with schools before. There's multiple statistics that play in school funding. It's the statistics of graduation rates. It's the statistics of what's the word for it, for kids actually in class, the attendance.
Yeah.
Then you have the area that the school is in. So when you start to put those together and you understand the plight of a 16-year-old that has a single mother and they're barely able to keep them now they got to work a part-time job or even a full-time job to help out that single parent.
Yeah.
So when those statistics drop and then you're looking at the area, if my school is on Fillmore, what hope are you giving my youth?
Yeah, that's so true. You know what? I like the idea that gets tossed around, the school choice thing is being able to choose what school you want to go to, not based on your zip code, but if I want to go to a school on the other side of town, I should be able to go there. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? That's an idea.
They do have a program now, right, where they allow the kids to a certain amount of kids to pick the schools that they want to go to. They can pick a suburban school, but the ideal that I don't like behind that is, well,
That's one.
that's number one. But number two is, what are we teaching our kids, right?
We're not
Is
fixing
it-
that problem.
right.
We're just running away from it.
So that's
Yeah,
what
no,
the,
I get
the
that.
major problem is
Yeah.
is that people have taken, their resources. They get up and they go and then they say, hey, I made it over here. Look at all these poor people, uneducated people. Right.
That's
the
so
golden
true.
ticket. Instead of saying, well, what is the root of the problem? Why are we not equally educated? Why are our kids don't have proper facilities? Why don't they have proper books or teachers?
But in our neighborhood, why do we have
Instead of having them leave, right? Let's fix the problem and not
Yes.
run away from it.
And we're
You know what I was
teaching,
just
like,
thinking
the
about?
another issue with that is that we're teaching them biases by saying, well, this is a better school in this
Yes.
area, so
Yeah.
this is where. So now you're looking at people who live in that area
Mhm.
differently than you do to the people that live in
Huh.
your area,
That's a good point.
which is a cultural breakdown.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's how biases and prejudices and racisms are essentially created.
And
That's a
it
good
makes
point.
people really just hate where they're from and hate themselves at a point, because then you look at your neighborhood where you're from and essentially you feel like it's not good enough,
Right,
because
right,
you
right.
had to go out here in order to obtain a proper education.
That's a good point.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking about? We had James Mallory on here the other day, and he was talking about how his mother, he was from the Central Park,
Mm-hmm.
and his mother wanted him to go to a Kenmore school, which they did. They moved. They went to Kenmore, and he made it to the NFL level. I mean, we're talking about. Imagine if that opportunity that he got was everywhere, not just outside of the city, but like in every school. Imagine how many great people like him we'd have in this world. Like, it would be, you know what I'm saying?
Disclaimer:
Equality
it
of
wasn't just the
opportunity.
school, it was a skill level as well. He was a very hard working. He was
Yeah.
a very hard working football player. We're
Of
gonna
course,
put
and that's
in.
what I'm
All
saying.
of that
Right.
comes in the breakdown, right? Because you have, modified football. That's in the suburbs. That's something that's offered to suburban kids, and we don't have that in the city of Buffalo. Instead,
crazy.
it's been a proposal
crazy.
sitting on someone's desk for the past 4 years. So it's been 4 generations
Just a
of
piece of paper,
seniors,
right.
who's graduated, who could have used this modified football program, when they were younger. And everyone's not going to
Yeah.
make it. Everyone's not going to go to the AFL, but to get that
The
discipline,
structure of having to
the
be
structure,
going like working out
Yes.
and having friends and having like
exactly.
that's so huge. People
is.
need that.
Yes.
Yeah, being a
Yep.
part of
Networking
something.
And
yeah.
just letting you know that you're valuable, right? You're
Yeah.
a valuable member of the team. So now
Right.
you feel like,
You're a part of it.
right. And now you're a valuable member of society because you know self-worth, and I feel like that's something that we're taking away from our kids and taking away from the youth. And when you look at stuff like a lot of the money that the school system gets comes from property taxes in certain areas, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
property taxes are gotten from homeowners, right? So
Right.
then when you have a bulk of employees that work for the teachers union, and the police union that do not live in the city of Buffalo, that is a bulk of the money that are not going back into education and back to our youth.
Wow.
So that's why
that's a crazy good point though.
right. You cannot go to Williamsville, Amherst, Orchard Park and work a city job, be a teacher or a police officer, and think you're going to live in the city of Buffalo. Because now you are making money off of where they
Right.
live,
It's-
and then going to take
The
it
money's
back.
not circulating in the
No.
neighborhood,
Yeah.
it's coming out.
By-
But
and
they're
it-
okay with that here in the city of Buffalo, right?
Wow.
They want
it's
to take,
by
take,
design.
take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But
if you
even
think
like
about
like when we were talking about with when Miles Carter was here, and I was talking about the businesses that they put in our neighborhoods, up and down Bailey, on the east side. Look downtown. You see what I'm saying? And then you realize that these businesses are moving in. They're getting tax breaks. They're getting tax cuts. They're bringing in family members, and those dollars are not circulated back into our neighborhood. I think his statistic on the average turnover on $1 in my neighborhood is $1.25.
Well, you got to look
That's
at
sickening.
Look at stuff like, if you go down to South Buffalo, right, and you go up and down their neighborhoods, right, it's your elected officials and what they care about is going on in your neighborhood or their quote unquote neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because I know for certain, in certain places like Lovejoy, that they don't have, for instance, those corner stores are not allowed to have a bunch of signage up because it looks tacky, right? Their councilman is not having it. He's not letting you just, pop up a store on every corner, just because you own one down the street. you have to be a resident within that area. Like I know that a lot of the stores that are up and down Seneca Street are like family owned. They only hire people out the neighborhood who are literally walking up the street to go to work. You know, that Tops only hires people that live around there who are walking to work. It is literally for the community, you know, by the community. And I feel like that's what we have to translate on throughout all of Buffalo, not just certain areas, you know.
But I think, like, I mean, that sounds like a great idea, and I don't want to necessarily sound like I'm combating it, but I feel like then we're building another set of biases. Now we have areas that we're designating for people, you know what I mean? Like, that's basically saying what they said to us. Go back to where you from.
Wait, what
you
you
from
mean?
the east side, work on the east side. You from the west side, work on the. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think.
No, I mean, I think it should be like all the way around. It shouldn't just be that I have to go to South Buffalo to see that they have corner stores that care about the outer appearance of their stores, and then I get to the east side of Buffalo,
I get what you said.
And the same sign for 20 years.
Yeah,
they haven't changed
it doesn't even look the same.
Or
like,
the light doesn't work or something.
Right,
they don't even revamp them buildings.
Yeah.
You look at Carey's. It used to be Carey's right on Bailey and
the
Kensington.
jewelry store.
They've done nothing with
And
that.
what does that do to the mental health of people living in those neighborhoods? Like, they walk around and they see, like,
No value.
boarded up house here, this store's closing down. That's got to take toll on people over
by
time.
design.
Yeah.
It's normalizing it, so they don't
Yeah.
have anything outside of that. I mean,
Right.
they do, but
Right.
that is their above goal. There's
You
nothing,
go up and
know,
down like
they don't think too
Broadway.
much. That's just how it is.
Yeah,
Right.
it's so true.
They
And then,
don't
you know,
feel value because
Yes.
they don't have that. That's all they're used to. That's all they see. They walk outside, see abandoned buildings, abandoned houses,
Right.
you know, and that's all they feel like that they're worth. But if we show people that, you know, they have more worth than, you know, just those abandoned buildings, like part of my platform is that I want to take some of that county money. Like, for instance, for the second year in a row, we gave $200,000 to landlords who have abandoned their houses, right? So what do we need to reward slumlords for, who, number one, probably don't live here,
Right.
already have numerous properties that they've already shown that they cannot care for.
Live out of state.
So now we're
why
going
are you
on-
incentivizing nothing?
Right. Instead of taking that money, right, we could be buying those landlords or slumlords out, right? We could be doing the buyouts, and some of them may not cost money because you have so many fines and violations that we'll just waive all those for you to sign over the property. Now we take that money and we upgrade the properties, and we allow residents who have low credit scores to now purchase the homes. Now, number one, they're going to be ecstatic, right? Because now they're homeowners and they're going to want to take care of their community. And guess what? That's a better look than that abandoned house that's sitting there, or giving the money to a landlord who's probably not going to put it back into it anyways.
Yeah. Or just do the bare minimum just to get
Right,
it running.
just so they can rent it out for penthouse prices, and it looks like the trap house.
You know what's crazy about that is, like, so the conservative argument would be, oh, we're all for equality, but not equality of outcome. We're all for equality of opportunity. So that the difference being, quality of outcome is like we all get the same amount of money, and that's it. We all get $100 a week or whatever. I don't know, they're just making up numbers. Equality of opportunity means, okay, we all they'll say we have equality of opportunity. That means that you have to work it hard and everyone has the same opportunity. But is that really a thing? No. Equality of opportunity right now does not exist right now. That needs to be number one. First, like, opportunity, the same opportunity for somebody who lives in Central Park should have the same opportunity as someone who lives in Kenmore.
Correct.
That has to happen.
When I was in school, so I graduated from Williamsville North, right? When I was in school, we used to have a program called Urban Suburban. And I'm telling my age, but my senior year, that was 2003, right? And we would go out and we would have representatives from each school, and we would sit down and we would talk about the things that were wrong with the schools compared to the suburbs, right?
Yeah.
And the exact same things that people were talking about they didn't have in 2003, they still don't have in 2021. Okay, so which is telling, which is they didn't have the proper sports facilities. They didn't have full encyclopedia editions, no computers.
Wow.
I mean, and this was in 2003. Our school donated our old computers, which were MacBooks, because we were getting new MacBooks to Kensington, I believe it was.
And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be a trickle down thing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, Kenmore's done with these computers, so you can have them now.
Exactly.
No, it should be like Kenmore's getting new computers, Central Park should get new computers at the same day.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
It's sad. I mean, it's sad. That's another reason why I started fighting for education just wholeheartedly as well, because people say, oh, it's just sports. Well, it's just sports when it comes to black and brown kids, and because everyone feels like, oh, well, everyone's not going to make it, but it's not about that, because it's sports for all kids. It doesn't matter what color of the skin, because I've watched sports keep all kind of kids in school. You know, football, lacrosse, soccer. It doesn't matter. It's an extracurricular activity that makes them, you know.
Even chess club or
anything,
whatever, arts club,
anything.
Or whatever.
It doesn't have to be sports, and they don't realize the more that they take from these kids, the more they're turning to the streets, right?
Yeah.
The more that we have these higher pregnancies, because you have these girls out here who, I mean, that there's nothing literally else to look forward to or do, and if you haven't had anyone to show you,
baby moms. Both of them.
Well, yeah, I just think as a community, we can uplift these kids, you know, and the community in general. You know, when you give back, you know, you're gonna produce productive members of society, not statistics.
That's what I was just gonna say.
But Miss Calhoun, if you don't mind me saying, I don't think it's that they don't realize. Again, like everybody swears. I think it is all by design, because you can't tell me that you and I never graduated high school, by the way. You can't tell me that you went through high school, you went through college, you've seen the people around you, how they were living, and then you come in these communities and you don't realize the difference.
Right.
Even when you're looking at it in black and white, these statistics eventually are going to tell me something is off.
Right.
So if you do care, if you do see it, and you don't make change, you're just as bad as everybody else ignoring the situation. You're either a part of the solution or you're a part of the problem.
Yeah.
And a major thing I think we have to get out of our heads is that just because people look like this, they're for us, right?
Can give her a treat.
But just because somebody look like you and me, that don't mean that they're for us. You know,
that
doesn't mean that their best interest is for us.
Camera.
You know, so you have people like the mayor and the commissioner in Rochester.
Byron Brown here.
Oh, and in Buffalo, of course. But for instance, the Daniel Pruitt case. You know, you have two people that look just like the man who was murdered with a plastic bag over his head, who say we didn't think that his story was important enough to let the public know actually what happened.
Wow.
You know, how can you be a black person and feel like that was okay what happened to that man? To watch that in the middle of the street, that then put a plastic bag over him butt naked in the street and make excuses for them, it's just outrageous. You know,
crazy.
If I just feel like if you were advocating or if you were for, you know, the moment it happened, everyone would have known, you know, instead of hiding it. You're part of the problem.
Wow. Yeah, that's really, and like the same people that argue about crime or look at black on black crime or whatever, they'll like say stuff like that.
Exist.
The same people that talk about all that stuff are the same people who won't go out of their way to like bring out extracurricular activities, stuff like that. They don't want to.
They be having the positions to do it. That's what tickles me
Yeah.
the most. They be in position to make a change, but they'll be like, "Oh, this black on black crime is crazy."
Right.
When it's really poverty on poverty
Yeah.
crime. There's no such thing. It's the vicinity of that. We're inner city. We're black. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're all. But if you put a bunch of white people that are poor in the same circumstances, it's going to be the same thing that occurs. Just like lions, hungry lions, you throw them in a room with a steak.
And that's the thing. There are neighborhoods like that exist. There's lower income white neighborhoods, and the crime is still the same. It's the same thing. Like that's what happens when people are in a position where they have to make a choice to eat dinner that night. They're going to do what they got to do. Like that's not, you know what I'm saying? That just goes for everybody, you know? That's something that across the board, that has nothing to do with race at all. It has everything to do with like situation, you know what I'm saying? Class, opportunity, you know, mental health, being a part of feeling like you're a part of the country, like that country cares about you. All that stuff plays a part.
And that's why I'm running for office, really, just to show that the everyday person has a voice, right? You know, I want to be that type of politician. Well, I don't even really want to call myself a politician,
that
right?
Word's weird, right?
Community member, right? That's what I would call myself, an advocate, because I'm already an
public
advocate.
servant.
Public servant.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
See, when I become a public servant, I want to be in tune with the community. I'm going to be that person that's going to know every business, every community program, every person that's in my district and really outside of my district. Because what can we do to connect? How can we do to make this a better overall place for
Yeah.
the residents, you know. And the only way that we're going to do that, really, you know, that's what I found was, I told you earlier that if someone would have said to me last year I would be running for office, I would have laughed. But I found
It
that
happened to you.
yeah, well, the only way that you're gonna make really true change, or to take, you know, get past that red tape, is to be in position.
Right.
Really.
So true. We got
A regular community member within those positions is exactly what we need.
Right.
To know what
Yes.
everyone needs.
Yeah.
Yep. And you know, I've heard that a lot of people started out like that, right? You start out with, you know, oh, I'm going to be within the community, and then you get in position and they don't pick up their phones. But that's just not who I am. I'm just so much passionate about this community, the people in it. My heart is here. My family's here. You know, I'm raising a family here. So I want to see it be better, not only for myself, but people don't understand that, like, the effects have major consequences, not only for the person that are in those jails or are abused by the police, but their families, their children, you know, their parents. It's a trickle down effect, and it affects everyone in the community. When Quentin Suttles was beat, I feel like I was beat.
Mhm.
You know, when my fiance Morgan was pulled over and violated and arrested in his job, you know, he was next up in line for the fireman's exam, and this arrest cost him that.
Yeah,
You know,
People
that's
swear this don't happen.
you know, and
Right.
that could have been anybody.
that's
out here.
that just changes everything. And like that just, like you said, he was looking forward to becoming a new person and getting a new career and contributing to society, and then it just all got pulled from him just for one thing.
Right.
For one
Which,
minute. For one
by the
minute
way,
of his
we
life.
heard you like to set up. We gonna get you on too, bro. We got you.
Definitely.
Yes. But you know, when we look at these situations, we gotta say that person could be any one of us, and that's how.
By the grace of God, there go I.
Right, and
Right.
that's how I would be
That's so
as
true.
a community
Public servant.
a public servant. You know, I feel like, okay, I don't even want to call myself a politician,
Yeah.
right? Because I've met some politicians.
Yeah.
Some
Dirty word.
it is.
Yeah, it
It is. You know,
It
you
just
have some
sounds like a
people that-
conniving
Yeah.
job now.
Yeah.
Like, it has that like
connotation that,
Yeah.
like, you know, you're
politician.
dirty, like, you know, you're not gonna get the job done, and they teeter totter. A lot of people teeter totter. They tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
You know, for instance, right, just a
Mhm.
little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it's
Right. Vote for us. Vote for us. We'll give you
Right.
that money. And then and then you vote for them, and it's like, sorry,
When
can't do
people
it.
are dying every day, we can't afford crumbs out here. When you have
Right.
your Breonna Taylors or your George Floyds, or when you have your local names like Jose or Meech, we cannot afford crumbs. We really need to, you know, be taking a look at the bigger picture of
Yeah.
mass incarceration, of poverty, and how can we change this, you know, not only for your own self and your own family, because that's a lot of the problems that we have here in Buffalo, is that, you know, it's a race problem, but it's a class problem as
Huge
well,
race
you know, because it's more so who knows someone that knows someone that knows someone. Are you going to get the proper help that you need? And
Yeah.
that shouldn't be. It shouldn't be who do you know in order to get COVID funding for your rent or your small business, because everyone is struggling. You
Yeah.
shouldn't have to know anyone to get help.
Right.
You know?
It should be available. Yeah.
But something else, like, I'd like to figure out how we could touch on or desensitize this overall thought process, excuse my French, with a lot of Caucasian Americans, in which, as long as you're a suspect, as long as you've been thought to have committed a crime, they feel comfortable equating it to death. At what point do we become a desensitized nation in which me selling a cigarette should equate or you be okay with me dying?
Right.
Yeah.
Me jaywalking, I don't care if I killed somebody.
Right.
We have created a system that is based on laws. We have a judicial system we have to follow.
Yeah.
The police have to follow. So I'm dumbfounded when you look on some of these news stations, even in our own backyard, Western New York, what some of the Caucasians in our area say in these comment threads. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
It was a comment yesterday, just exactly what you just said. They were talking about George Floyd, and the lady had a wrote, well, it might have been a gentleman. Well, he had a fake $20 bill anyways. He was a criminal. And
Yep.
number one, that was
$20 to take someone's life.
right.
First
like,
of all,
number one, it was,
that is not even relevant
Right.
to what the situation
it
was.
wasn't even true though. Like, he didn't. It wasn't counterfeit, but even if it was
That's just
counterfeit,
the,
who cares?
Right,
That doesn't mean that someone needs to die
That's
over
what
a
I'm saying.
$20 counterfeit bill. I don't
Yeah.
care what he did.
Yeah, it makes it worse that it's not true. But like you said, even if it was, what? What is that? That's nothing. You know
but
what
it
I'm saying?
just shows how they value or view our lives when it comes, because automatically a criminal or something happens. First thing someone has to say is, I need to see what happened before it. I need to see video. But I feel like that's how we have changed a lot of people.
What led up to this situation?
Right. That's what they want to know.
Yeah.
You know, someone's dead. There's no gun involved on the victim's part.
Right.
But they want to know what happened beforehand. Well, what happened beforehand
you
was he wasn't
obviously don't
armed.
care.
And he got killed afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
there's
what
no-
happened.
But
There's
even
no
like, if you go back to it,
justification for
I
that.
dare you. I implore you. Me, I challenge anybody. I don't care. Go back and look. There was just a shooting in Kenmore at 7-Eleven. Go back and look at that thread. And then go back and look at the shooting on the east side and look at that thread.
I mean, it's telling. Where was the guy at when he shot the 3 police officers this past summer? The white guy. And I mean, that wasn't national news at all. I mean,
Right.
they kept that. That was like
They don't want
on
no one to know about
for
that.
a week or
Nope.
something. And then he almost killed one of them.
That's the thing. The media paints a ugly picture of the black community.
Yeah.
Right.
So these white people are thinking, oh, this is how they are. So
Right.
this is instilled in them. This is the media
Yeah.
instilling in them.
Yes.
The media really loves to divide people.
Yeah,
And
media is a big
divide and
part of the
conquer is the
problem.
biggest thing that's going on, and the
But
media,
it's also
the media
like-
plays a part in that.
It's also a culture shock. We live in a country in which we point at everybody else.
Yeah.
And we judge how they live. And we never once was like, hey, how you doing? My name Robbie.
Right.
Yeah.
I see you're different than me. I see you've grown up in a different area. You've worked a different job. You have a different ethnic background. I want to understand you.
Right.
Everybody not the same. I have friends from all walks of life. Most of them pieces of shit, but I still love them. Because at the end of the day, like, we're human beings. It
Yeah.
has to come to a point where
We're all flawed.
I
like,
deal
know?
with you based on how you deal with me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one thing America is built off of, which is division, right? They
Yeah.
use race, class, party lines, all to divide because essentially at the end of the day, good people all want the same thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what color you are, what religion you are.
Agreed.
If
Right.
good people want good education, a good working wage,
Yep.
they want to be able to save and build for their family, accessible health care, accessible education, and they want to be treated with equality and respect.
Right.
You know, if people all hold the same values, I don't understand when it comes to the division, where do we divide when it comes to all wanting the same things
Right.
for our family?
Yeah, and it seems like they want to put everybody in different boxes so that
Right.
that way they can control this box by reporting this type of news. Fox
Yes.
News got these people, CNN got those people, and like they got everyone in different boxes, and that's really what it is. And they pander to certain groups depending on who you're watching. But like you said, out of all those boxes, all the good people all recognize that there's a problem. They might have different solutions for the problem, but they all want the same goal. They all want equality, freedom, prosperity for everybody.
But
Then at the same time too, you got in those groups the ones that are bringing negative effect to everything, that want to keep the division, that want to point the finger at the other side and say, look, see, I told you they're the bad guys, we're the good guys.
Right.
You know?
So, I mean, I think what Miss Dominique was trying to say is, like, on that note, if so many of us want the same thing, how is there still so much division?
Yes.
But that's like, and I piggyback off of people being surprised when Trump got in office. And I'm not blaming him, but the Proud Boys got a lot more proud.
Yeah. And I always say this. I said this a million times, and I'll say it again. Trump is a symptom of the real problem.
Right.
Like he really wasn't the problem. Like
At
there was something deeper going on for him to get elected as president.
It's like racism didn't disappear because it moved into our judicial system, it moved into our police force, it moved into our government, and to deny that would be like doing this or doing this. You see what's going on. The problem didn't just all of a sudden become.
Yeah.
It just got quieted. And when you, like, if I come to the table right now and all I preach and practice is division, get him out of here. He's not listening. Get him out of here. He doesn't agree with me. If I had a bad, I'd beat. What the fuck are you saying, bro?
Yeah.
At your campaigns, you practice division.
Yeah.
Singling people out. I don't understand how it got past him mocking
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, I always say this. I don't understand how it got past him mocking a obvious person with a disorder and or handicap live on TV.
Yeah.
Or the fact that he said, and I quote, grab her by like,
Yeah,
bro.
no, like the way he was. Just go back and watch his clips of in the '80s when he was on Howard Stern, just going off and just saying all types of crazy stuff. So it's like that's not a secret.
But it goes back to the culture that we accept, right? Like with
Right.
the blue line. I mean, what type of atmosphere you think is going on in those police locker rooms and stuff like that?
And you know what I was thinking about that with the police thing? It's like black people have been through so much with police brutality, you know, like going back to the 90s in LA, the riots and everything, till now, till what happened last summer. It's about time that I think that we should turn the reins over in police forces, like to black people, like even black cops, more black sheriffs,
Right.
more, and like that's to me at the end of the day, if you let them take the reins, I think a lot of that systemic racism that you see coming from the top down to the bottom would start to go away.
Well, you would think that, but we still got to go back to that thing that I was saying
The culture.
earlier, which was just because they look like us don't mean
Yeah.
that they're for us. Because
Right.
some of those people don't see black and white; they see blue.
Blue, yeah, right. That's the
So
problem too.
They're
Yeah.
still going to uphold systematic racism,
Yeah.
even though they are black.
Yeah, no,
You know,
that's
you have a lot of those out there too. What we need to do is black and white is to get rid of this toxic culture that they have upheld for so long. And yes, we do need more officers in the community,
judges.
right? Judges
DAs,
as well, but
yeah.
people that are from the community, right? And the community may not necessarily mean that they are black, because you got a lot of white people that are from the community
Right.
too.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just the
Yeah.
way that the mindset that they have and that they have been you know, feeding off of for the past decades, that
Yeah.
you know, that this is okay. It's like a child, right? You let your child go do what it want without any consequences. They know that they're not going to get in trouble, so they're going to continue to do what they want to do, right? And this has been a major part of the problem for many years.
Yeah.
But I think it's still sick. Like, if you think about it, they still hold basically, like, I'm not saying their policies, please don't read me out for this one, but I think it's weird that they still hold some of the same objectives they did when they weren't police, when they were slave patrol.
Right, right.
Because before
Same
they got
basic.
a badge and were called police, they were slave patrol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, isn't that? Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I should know this. I love history, but that's what the marshals was invented for. Was
Right.
to track. Originally
Escape slaves.
was just to find slaves.
Right.
That's what the U.S. Marshals was
Right.
originally formed to do.
So I mean, if you understand,
So that
like,
institution still exists.
but if you look,
which
at
is
it, like,
crazy.
back
They
then,
just transform it, right?
Yeah, but it's still the U.S.
Yeah.
Marshals, so
but back
it's
then it
still the
was
same.
dark clothes, badge, running around with a dog, chasing people.
Yeah,
Same
That
thing.
don't sound too
it's
fucking
primitive.
Right.
like
It's
that.
primitive,
But
man.
you see
It's
what
something
I'm
that
saying?
like
go
we need
back-
to progress past that.
We
You know what I
do.
mean?
And I mean, we do need a little bit more diversity. Well, not a little, but a lot more diversity.
Yeah.
Let's just say in the sheriff's department, where there are literally only a handful of black sheriffs,
Yeah.
and that is not a representation of how many black people are in Erie
Right.
County, right? And so,
Yeah, that's true.
The affirmative action contract, actually, they declined it.
Really, I didn't.
Right.
That's new to me. That's
So there is no affirmative action contract. That's why they are not required to hire
Wow.
a certain amount of black people.
especially for that in particular. That's where it needs the most.
right.
But
That's
I
where
mean, it's telltale when you look at COs and deputies,
Yeah.
sheriffs. Like it's telltale.
Yeah.
It's not like people don't realize it's happening. When I go into court, it's rarely that I don't go into court often, but it's rarely like you see black deputies, black bailiffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
And I
it's
mean,
disheartening to see so many white faces in a system that we already know
Right.
ain't for us.
Yeah.
And I mean, how do we reproduce? I just literally said this yesterday. Because a lot of my reform came from officers, right? So people think, oh, just because we're fighting against police brutality, we're anti-police. We're not anti-police. we're anti-bad police,
Yeah,
right?
and
You
pro
know?
reform police.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's a
And-
big difference.
And they don't realize that there's a lot of officers who want the same thing.
Yeah.
Because they're
Oh, yeah.
tired of
Oh, yeah, they're out
you know,
there.
receiving the backlash. They're tired of they're the good guys. They're living in this community.
Yeah.
They're fighting for this community. And you know, they're getting overlooked and overshadowed because
Right.
you have these guys who don't live in the community and they're coming in, they're abusing the community, and then they're going back to the comfort of their Orchard Park homes or Kenmore or wherever they're at, you know, and these guys have to take the grunt of it. And
Yeah.
then you're in this toxic culture where the bad guys get the promotions. So now you have the bad guys getting detective roles, getting these internal affairs.
Those are the
cushy-
positions of power where they can actually make changes,
Yes.
and that's
I'm
not.
like
And it's not getting to the people that really would make the change.
Yeah.
Right? The good guy who is in tune with the community, he should be the detective.
Yeah.
Because I'm
And-
going to want to talk to him and tell him what happened, and he's going to be solving crimes.
And that goes back to what you said about the murder rate not getting
Less than 50%.
less than 50% are getting are finding out what happened or
Yeah.
solving
Care.
it,
Yeah.
right? And if it's the detective doesn't care about the community, if he's from a different community, why would he want to solve it?
Right.
He's not getting paid by the. He's getting paid. He's got a salary.
Oh, he's getting paid because he can pay overtime to
That's what I'm saying.
Do nothing.
He's getting paid no matter what. He's not getting a bonus for solving the crime.
Mm-mm.
So he has no incentive to solve the crime. But you give that job to someone that's actually from the community, their incentive is to save their community because they live there.
Right now, we have a girl that's been missing going on. I think today is 11 days.
Yep.
Right? She was snatched off
I heard
of
about that.
Gold Street, which is in Lovejoy. Right? They think that she is currently with a guy who's like from the Broadway area. And right now, we have flyers everywhere looking for her. Now, this is why the media plays part of the problem. Our city officials plays, part of the problem because if the shoe were on the other foot, and it's sad to say, if she were a white girl,
little white girl
22
down the well
years
again.
old, that went missing from her Gold Street address in
They had
Lovejoy.
a SWAT team out there looking for her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead, right now you have the community looking for her.
Yeah.
Shout out to Reverend Al, that's in the Lovejoy community and the Lovejoy community itself, that and the east side of Buffalo, that's come up, and rallied around this girl and trying to
Sharing the
find
post
her.
and bringing awareness
Yeah,
to it.
yeah. And I mean, it should be everyone should be on this.
Everyone should be on that.
From
yeah.
the mayor to the police commissioner to the SWAT team to every city official should be sharing it and should be out here, marking the payment for this girl. But it goes back to how deeply are we invested into this community, you
Right.
know?
But it's like, I hate for people to even say that we got a black mayor in the city of Buffalo because
Right.
I don't feel like we have a black mayor. He very much so reminds me of very privileged Caucasian politicians from how he views our neighborhoods to how he treated the situation with his son that got swept under the rug.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget about that.
Yeah. It's crazy because he's
But
been
we
he's
got
been in
fucked
office
up
for a while
streets,
now.
Like the
And
cameras. How many
he-
people get killed under cameras?
He gets credited by people.
They could catch people that speed though, right?
He's known
Crazy.
for turning around like downtown, making it look nicer and all these public
got-
areas.
Yeah, they got free Wi-Fi for downtown.
Yeah,
but
but
we
then
don't
but then
for
you
Erie
drive through the
County or
neighborhood
inner city.
neighborhoods like
Right,
Central Park or
yeah.
Fruitvale, and then you're like boarded up house,
But
boarded up
shit,
house.
even
boarded-
downtown.
So
So you got
he-
the west side right there. You go a couple blocks
Yeah.
over from City Hall, and you gonna see
So-
poverty.
So he revamped all the public places where people from the suburbs come to walk their dogs.
Or people from Canada.
Yeah, there they go. What's that? Where the concerts are? What's that place called?
Oh yeah.
The Boardwalk and Harbor.
Yeah, the harbor.
Yeah.
Harbor. You see, the harbor looks all nice now, and everyone credits Byron. Oh, look at Byron Brown did this, that. But who's going down there? Everybody.
And
That's
they're
not.
still-
it goes
they're
back
still putting
to
money down
back
there,
in the
too.
day, right? When you had slaves, and then you had the black people who kept the slaves in line, right?
Yeah.
Like Django, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
The dude who like, why you up there on that horse?
Who this?
Right.
on
Mark
this
Twain.
name?
Exactly.
Mark Twain wrote the book Uncle Tom's Cabin. That's
Right.
where that term comes from, and that's where there were actually people back in the day who had higher up spots. They were slaves too, but they had higher up spots. Maybe they didn't have to work outside in the sun. Maybe they were inside, and they would actually like act as if they were masters to the people below them. So that's where that term came from.
And that's how Mayor Brown. I used to look up to him because he's been a mayor for so long, right? So when I was like in high school or college, we have a black mayor, and you're just so ecstatic that someone that looks like you is in power, right? But then as you get older and you see like what is what has he done? Like, that is affecting the community directly.
Right.
You have the surface stuff that he's done.
Yeah.
Yes, you've made this look pretty,
Right.
but what lives have you changed
Right.
or added value to? How have you, brought us from poverty or made the graduation rate, increase from, being just so low? And how have you given this city hope?
Right.
Because I feel like we're more a disparity than we ever been.
Yeah.
With him as a mayor.
I mean,
That's
you got the Perrys getting shut down. They're gonna
Right,
demolish
well,
that.
Like that was a large part of
BMHA is
history.
about to
Right.
be privatized.
Central Park
so-
still looks the same. Hasn't changed in 50 years probably. It looks exactly the
So they're
same.
gonna privatize
Yeah.
BMHA.
Yeah, we're actually they were having meetings about it all last week, and they're talking about giving 35 to 40% maybe of lower income families that portion of the building of BMHA.
So wait, would that give them ownership or someone else, like a different
No,
a landlord?
No, meaning they're gonna allow you to stay there, but this is my building now.
That's-
so
yeah, that's no good.
privatizing it, right?
Yeah.
So now you don't have the
What they
state's
should
not
do-
controlled.
So they're
What I
gonna
think they
keep-
should do
you're
is-
saying they're going to keep 34 to 35% of current residents,
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
which means they're going to put close to 70% of people on
Yes.
the street.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Where do they go? Right?
And then that's the thing
they
is
probably don't
they're
care.
probably not required to stay at the rent.
you-
Now that's probably
like,
in a negotiation.
If you looking at this and you don't understand, BMHA is like all those housing complexes,
Yeah.
all those projects and apartments, like
Yeah.
70%.
What they should do though, they should let the people who are renting there right now rent to own. Like give them ownership.
But we
The
don't
people
wanna
that
rent to
already
own no
live there.
apartment that's in-
Well,
But
they
here's
do
why I
have
say that though.
programs for them, right? But it's all about awareness, and they do have that set up supposedly for the residents so that they can eventually own homes,
the place.
not BMHA, but like
Right,
their
separate
own,
place,
right?
yeah.
Their own homes and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
But it's like
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was
who's
getting at.
walking
I'm
them through
currently
these
in one of those
programs,
programs.
Right, and that's tough,
and
too.
Who's letting them know?
Yeah.
I don't-
Right,
Right.
I'm currently in one of those programs.
right. To know your
Yeah,
rights.
yeah.
I mean, they're really good
shout out to
programs.
Mr. Kyle,
Yeah.
by the way.
And people
what's his
we
name,
need people
Renato?
to help them help people who qualify for that stuff need help finding the right spot to go to or where to fill out the paperwork. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing too. Is like you got people walking around starving, don't even know that they can go and get some food stamps. Like there's a lot of that out there too.
If
People
I may, like, if you're struggling right now and you meet poverty guidelines, I do implore you, you have to be homeless. Look up what is called rapid rehousing. There's different levels of this program, but essentially what they do is put you in a home that you will eventually own within 5 to 13 years, depending on your original agreement. And it starts lower. Your payments start lower than they would if you were to get a mortgage or deal with a banking institution, or even a real estate company. And it builds up based on your progression in income, which is
And that's what kind of programs we
big.
need.
Yeah.
Right?
and
We
maybe
need-
build off that. Maybe make it faster than 5 to 13
Right.
years. You know, I mean, I guess they're in their hearts in the right place. Like the program's trying to get people to own property. Like that's how
Because
you
my thing with that is if the properties are abandoned, right?
right.
What value is it adding
Nothing.
back to the community?
It makes it actually
What-
now you got to pay for it. It actually makes it a burden.
Exactly.
It makes
So
it worse.
If you give these people the houses or give them for next to nothing or make them pay like bare the minimum for a year or two or whatever just to give them the homes, you're adding value back. You're giving back to the community. You're making the
Yeah.
community look better because now you have someone in the house that's going
Right.
to take care of it.
Yeah.
It's just some of these programs, I feel like they're created just to create them and, so that someone can have money to oversee now.
Right.
Is-
More government jobs and
Right.
yeah. That's
Right.
crazy.
It's not
That's a
adding
good point.
value and it's not giving back. And
That's a
see,
good
I
point.
feel like in 2021 we need to really start taking deeper looks into if it's being offered, what are we getting out of it directly as a community? Is it benefiting us? If it's benefiting our family, our children, how is it giving back to us?
Yeah, that's basically the whole gist of this whole conversation. Is like we're trying to figure out solutions, incentives maybe, to make sure that these communities can have an own property and get wealth that they can keep for their families to go down generations, because we're seeing poverty get brought down from generation to generation to generation. But that needs to change. There needs to be owning houses going down from generation to generation, or good jobs going down from generation to generation. And
One thing I think is important, you struck right on the word, is generational wealth, right?
Yeah.
In Atlanta, they opened up, and I've been looking into opening one here in Buffalo, a generational wealth center, right, where you teach youth or young adults or older people, whomever in the community, on things like stocks and bonds, or how
there we
to,
go.
how to balance a checkbook, high
Right.
school kids, how to balance a checkbook.
Yes.
Someone said the other day, I was reading online about, them taking driver's ed out of high schools, right? These kids don't even know how to drive unless someone's teaching
and
them,
you need a car to get to work. Like, those are some obvious things that people need to know how to do.
right.
And you talking about
and the ability to go to school back in prisons. I think they should do that.
and you talk about stocks and bonds, and like mutual funds are a safe way to invest into the economy. And I think that everybody should have a piece of the pie somehow. You know what I'm saying?
When I turned 18, I literally had an 800. Like, I had a perfect credit score, right? Because my dad was like, don't spend any credit cards, don't take out any loans, don't do anything. Now, if these kids have someone letting them know, hey, if you have a perfect credit score, you can do this, you can buy a house, you can take your refund check and take that $5,000, and then the next semester you'll own your own house for $10,000.
Right.
You know what I mean? If someone was guiding them,
that's
and
all
letting
you
them
need.
know
Yeah.
how to build generational wealth, I don't think.
And it comes back around too. If everybody was contributing and everybody had opportunities like that, it helps everybody. It helps even people who are still. It's not going to take away from people who have wealth now. It's actually going to make it better for you, because now there's more opportunities for you, more trading partners for you, more business opportunities for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, people shouldn't be scared of seeing other people make it.
Right.
Because it doesn't take away from you. It actually just helps you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's what it comes down to. Is like, you see people acting
But I
like.
think, go ahead.
I really wasn't saying nothing. Go ahead.
But I think the major issue with that is to strike back and understand that it's community.
Yeah.
If I'm around Dominique all day, I'm gonna eventually look into being something more, aspire to be more than what I am. If all I am is up and down Bailey or on Kensington, sitting in my house all day, and these are the people around me, and I'm not knocking my neighborhood, but let's be honest, a lot of people in the neighborhoods we grew up in aren't being productive.
Right.
Yeah. No,
They're
and
out
that's
here in the community. They're not voicing what they believe in,
and that's
they're
a good
not
point.
Being productive enough for people around them to feel productive.
And that's what I'm saying. We need to get people like that involved.
Yes.
Get them a job opportunity.
Yes.
Like, people got to be contributing.
We're not gonna hire y'all, by the way.
If everybody tried something to push the needle forward for our society, and everybody just contributed just a little bit, we would be great right now. And
I think that goes back to awareness and opportunities, right?
Yeah,
because
opportunities,
first we have to have the opportunities available for these people in this community, these disenfranchised communities, to obtain, and then they'll know that there are things out there for them to do, to add value to, because right now, like we spoke about earlier, it's a purposeful breakdown. They're purposely taking out all the programs, all the funding from schools, from community programs, or anything that will give us hope. They want us to not have hope. And so that's what makes Miles and I campaign so unique, is that, we are the voice of the people, and we give people hope. We let them know that, hey, he had a police brutality story. I was assaulted 7 months pregnant by the police, and that was 5 years ago, and that's me.
That was
girl.
you.
Yes. And really, that's what made me start this journey this year, because when I seen Quentin Sutto's story, and they kept saying, if you don't have a criminal background, if you're the perfect citizen, if you don't, do anything towards the police, you don't have to worry about them assaulting you. I don't have a criminal background. I've never been arrested. They ran into my home and dragged me out like a piece of dirt, 7 months pregnant, barefoot, pregnant.
You were
in the
very
snow.
vocal. I remember scrolling across a post. I seen you with a sign. I believe it was on the steps of City Hall, was it not?
Yep. Well, you know what? I think that time I was in front of the Bailey district, because that's what the officer,
right, the police station.
Yes.
Right, you're right.
He was stationed out of, and that's what made me voice my opinion, because I said, look at me.
Did anything ever come about that?
Well, that's a story. That's another story in itself, but it just shows the level of corruption.
So did you say no? Is that a no?
I got an attorney, The attorney was paid off by the city of Buffalo, and he currently works for the city of Buffalo. He told me that my
See what I told you? I
I
said
know
yes,
you
yes,
fucking
events
lying.
happen.
Yes,
I know you fucking lying. You
Ronnie.
hired an attorney to
Yes.
oversee this case,
yes.
and the city of Buffalo stole him.
Do you know
Yeah.
what? Do you know?
It's,
that's
it's
what
like
I
a
was.
movie.
It was
I
like, tell
literally
you
like
what,
a
we
movie.
just gonna cut you.
That's
a check.
what I
Shut
said.
The fuck up.
That's what I said in the
No.
first segment. Is like these events happen. You might hear about it real quick, but they quickly
Neal,
get swept
did
under
you
the
like
rug
really
and
just
paid
hear
up.
what she said?
Yeah,
I
They do.
never
It's
heard no
wild,
shit like
dude.
that.
But
Wild.
I say
They wasn't just
everything-
like, here, bro.
I'm
shut
not
up. It was like, we got a
surprised.
job.
Yeah, they
We got-
can't, and it literally.
I hate to say this, but I'm not surprised.
It happens. It happens more
It
than
happens
you
a
think.
lot. Yeah.
You know, and that's what I found out during all of this. And everything happens for a reason, because if I would have completed my case, signed a non-disclosure, I would have never been able to talk about this.
Right.
I would have never been able to advocate for Quentin Settles or say, look,
And that's worth way more.
right,
Yeah.
it is. It is. It's worth way more, because for me, it gives me credibility, right?
Yeah.
Because people can look at me and say, well, look at her story. This happened to her. You know, this could happen to anybody. And Quentin Settles is any young man. I'm any young woman in Buffalo. You know, not that I tell people all the time, not that it matters, but at the time I had 2 businesses, a nonprofit, never been arrested, a pillar in the community.
Yeah.
You know, and this still happened to me. So this can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
You know,
Like having you and Miles on, like y'all, I can't. It's rare you meet people with such modesty, and to be able to carry yourself with so much pride, and even with all the indifference going on around you, like that's big. 'Cause
And
I
humility,
ain't bigger
too.
than I am. I'd be like the cop that motherfucking name was.
Yeah,
and
you
the
guys-
lawyer I hired. See that piece of shit. Like
You guys are very humble about it
that's
too.
Crazy.
Very humble about it too, because that's like he said, that's something that would make somebody angry, want to lash out all the time, and just get mean. But
Bro,
you,
that's how I felt
you
just
keep
sitting
it.
here.
You keep it very
you know what?
humble.
I keep it as a drive, right?
Yeah.
Because and one thing it's rare, like I talk about it when it's time to talk about it, but I want people to know that that's not why I'm here, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm here for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, my story is just one of many.
Yeah, it just
you
got
know?
that just puts you in your direction. That's
Yes,
it.
and
Yeah.
that's why, you know, currently I'm working with the jail advisory board on how the jail handles pregnant women, right?
Mm.
Because not only did they do that to me, they arrested me, okay, falsely arrested me, took me to the holding center, and kept me there while they took pictures of myself and my bare breasts on mugshots. Yeah, while I was 7 months pregnant, and then they held me 7 hours without getting me food or drink, and they had to rush me to the hospital.
You're pregnant.
7 months, yes. And so it's a lot of things that reform wise, you know, we don't think about, like when they're handling pregnant women, you know, and they didn't feed me, they didn't give me anything to drink, you know. I mean, but that's common sense. We
That's
shouldn't have to tell
insane.
anyone
It's insane.
to feed a pregnant woman or
Yeah.
give her some,
But
you know.
it's so like when you come to understand, like, and I'm not saying like, excuse me for how this may sound, but when you come to understand how much this shit is going on, it's not like this is a hugely unique story.
Right.
Because this is New York. We talking about shit like this going on, believe it or not, across the country.
Right.
That's fucking sick.
I mean, because I mean, my story is disgusting, but look at the girls who just got raped just the other month.
Let it be a dog.
You know,
Mike Vick and them, we know how y'all did.
right. You know, that was outrage. You know, but when it's people, you know, I feel like they rather have people incarcerated because we're making more money off of people being ignorant and in poverty than we would be if they were self-sufficient.
Right.
So we have to break that cycle.
Yeah.
And I feel like Miles and our campaign is really based off of being the change. Be the change is my campaign slogan. His is be bold, right?
Nice.
And together we want to be better.
Yeah.
See a better administration,
Yeah.
a better Buffalo, a better Erie County, and then we want to be better than our past. You know, the people that have been stuck in this toxic administration. We want to be better than they were. We want to, you know, see all the mistakes that they've made and do better. So I appreciate all of the support that everyone has shown me when I was advocating out in the streets, when everyone has, you know, pretty much has encouraged me to run for office. You know, it'd be nice to win, you know,
Yeah.
but
No,
I'm
we,
out here
we
on
need that right now.
principle.
You know? We need change in
Yes.
public servants. You know what I'm saying? Like you. Yeah. That's. Do you want anything you want to promote? Like any websites or links?
So you can
Community
check me out
activism, anything.
at www.calhounforlegislator.com.
I'll put the link in the description.
It's FOR. Oh, okay.
That's gonna.
It's
get
okay. I
edited
got
out
I got it in the description. So
Okay.
let's see.
All right.
Link in the description. Yeah.
CalhounForLegislator.com.
Yep. It's in the description, so just click on it.
You can follow me on Facebook. I have 2 pages, but my activist page, you can save me as a friend still.
Cool.
And any events that we have coming up will be on those pages. I'll be having up some Meet the Candidates pop-ups where you can come meet me, discuss your issues. And if you follow me on Facebook, I'll have some lives that I'll be doing on different issues just to let you know why I feel like I'm the best choice for the community.
Yeah.
Because, some people may like the incumbent or my component, but I feel like he's a nice guy and all, but it's not about being nice. It's who can get the job done best for the community. So
and
check me out.
And just to mention, just to add to what you said, someone who can sit down and talk for an hour and not have to read from a teleprompter or like read notes that the party gave them, that is all you need to know. Like that, there's a person right there who's coming from the heart. And that's all you need to know. Like it goes miles and miles far.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
If you're in Lovejoy, Fillmore, Ellicott, Broadway, a little bit of Niagara towards downtown, Maston, please look me up. Look at my platform if you have any questions. I answer all my inboxes personally, and just see what my platform is about. I'm advocating for a lot of stuff that directly affects the community because I believe first and foremost that's what it's about.
Right.
So, right before this date for the election or coming up to it, we definitely would like to have you on again when you reach your peak.
Okay.
And platform you out again because we genuinely like what we hear.
Yeah.
And that's
Thank
what
you.
we back.
Yeah.
What we like.
Definitely gonna do that for sure.
All right, that'll be June 22nd. Will be the primary, but before then, I'll be out here because I'll be collecting signatures. So if you live in any of those areas I just named, inbox me. We'll need your signatures so that I can make it to the ballot. They don't want to see me on the ballot, guys.
Yeah, we got to get you there.
They want to silence our voices because our voices are the voices of the community, and that's the voices that have been silenced.
It's not
for
the
so
status
long.
quo.
Right.
They want to keep the status quo, and they're scared to change.
Quo. And we're here to break that
David
cycle.
and Goliath.
Yep.
Yes.
And again, we all know how that ended.
Oh, you must have read my post.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful part of story in the Bible is David and Goliath.
Yes.
Everybody should take from that is you can win against the Goliath no matter what. Like
the machine.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what me and Miles are here to do. And we're running our campaigns with heart, and a lot of the stuff we've gotten directly from the community. So when people say, well, how can you speak for the community? You're not, you don't speak on behalf of all of the community. We speak on behalf of the people who have came to us with their problems. And if you are someone who feels like your issues are not being addressed, please reach out to either of us. And we'll be happy to, try to incorporate it and see, how is it that we can help you.
If you didn't catch our last episode, by the way, Miles Carter is somebody who's currently running for Erie County Sheriff. And please check out that episode. It was genuinely
MilesCarter.com.
There you
awesome.
go. It's right there.
To listen, like my partner Neal said, it's
and click
refreshing.
on the YouTube link that's also in the description, and you can find the Miles Carter video right there.
You best
this video will be there eventually too.
Subscribe.
And I don't know. I don't think he had went viral with Sean Keem at that time when he did the podcast with you guys.
Yeah.
But since then, Sean King has shared his race and his story.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yep.
Yeah, Washington Post has covered him.
Yeah.
A bunch of national news outlets, which is amazing.
Yep. And the video we did, it's like at 1,300 views right now. So that's
while we were actually live running it. We had people chiming in from Florida and California.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at it,
I mean, it's exciting because really that's what a jail like Erie County, where we're again losing one person every 6 months, who wants a career police officer, because they've already been tainted,
right?
Because if you need a background in law in order to run the jail, that would be a requirement, but it's not,
right?
So I think that it's time for a new fresh start, someone with some new fresh ideals, because
time to raise the bar.
Yeah. And I mean, goodness, it can't get, what we want to get worse than it already is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so.
Way to fit that pun in there from the James Mallory episode.
Yeah, let's try to keep it all interconnected. This is all a continuous conversation. Really, it really is. Like, this is what people are talking about. People want to engage in this stuff, And I'm glad that this conversation is being heard and being told, because it's important that we talk about this stuff, because we got to shed light on these things.
And thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It was my
this
pleasure.
platform.
It's been a great. This hour flew by. What are we even at right now? We're probably way.
We're not even past. Honestly.
Okay. Yeah, we had the 20 minutes before too.
It was
so
just like the content of the conversation.
Yeah.
It just felt. You know what I mean?
But like always, the closing picture always has to.
Is there something before I close you'd like to say?
I just want to encourage everybody to get out there and register to vote. You have until
That's a good point.
the end of February, I believe, to register for the primaries. And once you register, please register as a Democrat so that you can vote for Miles and myself.
Right.
In the primary election. And then the primary is June the 22nd. We're asking everyone to come out and vote. They will be doing early voting, just like they did for the national election. So you can request your forms be sent to your house. You can still vote for us and then mail it back in. And they will be doing early voting sites as well, like last year. So once those are posted, please look out for those so you don't have to stand in a long line. But please vote for Dominique Calhoun, Erie County Legislator, District 1, and Miles Carter for Erie County Sheriff. We really appreciate you as we are advocating for the people. And we're building our platforms for the people because we are coming with a voice for the people. Thank you.
There you go.
That was powerful.
You just heard it. Time to go do it.
February. If you don't feel like going out, get it mailed in.
Yeah, there you go.
February 14th. That's the deadline for the primary. And if you don't make it, then you still have the general election. Hopefully I'll be on the ballot by then, but we need all the support we can
And you
get.
can still share stuff, share
Yes.
these links, and that helps out too. Anything you can do, just, be a part of the conversation, be a part of change, you know what I'm saying?
Be the change.
Yeah, be the change. I like
bold.
that. Maybe I'll make that the title of this podcast. Be the
Yes,
change.
that
All
would
right,
be
I like that.
excellent.
That's
Bro,
what
you
it'll be.
can't change it every week, man.
No, it's different for every
But
person.
For me, it could be the change.
No,
I like that.
we got. Remember, we got that front title, and then I
Yeah.
always put the person's name, and then
Yeah,
I
I'm
put
already- I'm
Young
already-
American.
I'm
Yeah,
already.
so that'll be the change.
I like messing with you.
Take
It's
it away.
awesome. All right, so as always, it was definitely a pleasure to have you. Very exciting stuff happening, and we can't wait to be a part of it and or take part of it. As always, if nobody told you today, I love you. We are a people who forget that love will heal this world. I'm sorry. If you have a significant other next to you while you're watching this, please turn to them, give them a hug, and tell them you love them. And be love.
That's it.
All right.
I end it the same all the time.
Just drop-
I went to different religious leaders, churches of different denominations. Actually, a few police officers actually helped me with this reform. They seen some things that they felt like, were corners that people were cutting, reasons that they were arresting people.
The plans include creating a police accountability board instead of an advisory board, which exists now.
The way that
city or you're not from the city does not mean that you cannot voice your opinion on how you feel of what's going on, because it's all Erie County. We're all one.
justice and equality. That man did not deserve to be shot in the streets like he did yesterday in broad daylight.
Buffalo